It's not funny, man.
Morning. Yeah. Like we haven't seen each other.
Just for a couple days, 3 days.
Yeah. We haven't seen each other.
We haven't seen each other for like
3 minutes before we started this. Yeah.
I get it.
But yeah, we haven't seen each other.
Yeah.
How have you been?
Good.
Good few days.
Yeah, good. I'm getting back. What am I saying? This coming back
From
on the
lull.
rebound.
Yeah, right.
I'm on the rebound from a hard summer.
Yeah. Getting the mojo back.
Yeah. and having, what do you call that when you look at your body? You go like dysmorphia. Is that what it is?
Body dysmorphia.
Yeah, I have that right now. But actually, no. I think I'm total milk bag right now. I think I'm a total milk bag right now because.
You look the same to me.
Yeah, no, I don't though. I don't.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, so I feel like a total milk bag. So I've been
totally get it.
Things get in the way. So Charlie going away and all that stuff, whatever. It's all a bunch of excuses, to be honest with you. But I last week and stuff, I've been getting back into getting nice and fit again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. So I'm getting there. I need my routine back, right?
Yeah. So
that, and then I'm a little disappointed with the book I bought.
Oh, it's no good?
No, it's okay.
What's the book? Just say the book.
What's that?
Say the book. Just...
Muggsy Bogues is a little 5'3" basketball player that played 15 years in the NBA, which is amazing in itself. And there's certain parts of the book that are good, but that's what I was saying about buying books. I was in Guelph and we had a few minutes, so we went to the bookstore.
Favorite store.
I was looking for one called Tough. And I forget who wrote it, but it's supposed to be a very good book about mental toughness and stuff. And I couldn't find it, so I'll order that one online. So I was looking for something in sports that would be, because I like bringing it to the podcast, right? So I narrowed it down. I was looking for a Teddy Atlas, which I need to order online too. I narrowed it down to the Muggsy Bogues, who's a 15-year NBA superstar, who is 5'3", if you can believe that, right? Well, you can believe it. It's true. You can look it up. Or it was going to be the Nick Nurse book. He's the coach of the Toronto Raptors. Right.
Well, sorry, did somebody recommend these two, or did you just find them looking there?
I was looking.
Yep.
I was looking, and but I knew the Nick Nurse book might be good because it was about coaching and basically all the pathways he took. It was a really good exercise for the brain. Like he chose different ways, has different thoughts on different people. He's a very successful coach.
Yep.
So I was there. And on the onset, I looked at the Muggsy book, and I looked at the Nick Nurse, and I'm like, I think I want to go with Nick Nurse, but there's so much, like, this has got to be good.
Cool story. Yeah.
The Muggsy Bogues, 5'3", like, you think about that, dude.
Yeah. No chance you're playing, man.
Playing in an NBA. You're 5'3".
Yeah.
No, you're not. End of story.
Yeah.
Right? End of story, man. There's nothing to talk about.
Yeah,
you're 5'3". You're not 5'5". You're not the better half of 5 feet. You're almost just 5 feet tall, dude.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's a pretty cool story. But and I do the cover, I read a couple of things. I'm like, I don't know. And then I didn't do that to the Nurse book, but although I know it's supposed to be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Christine came. She goes, which one are you getting? I said, I don't know. I said, I think I might not get it. She goes, just get one. So I said, you hold them behind your back. She goes, okay, you turn around, pick left or right. So I said left, and it was Muggsy, and I was like almost going to say, well, that's not the one I want.
Yeah.
So went back to the hotel, opened her up, and like absolutely amazing, right? So they go through when he was in the hood in Baltimore. He actually got shot when he was 8.
Holy Christ.
Yeah.
Imagine that life.
Yeah, but not, so he said it was someone was robbing the store across the street in the projects. And someone said, oh, it was him. It was Muggsy. They call him Muggsy because he used to steal the ball all the time from guys. So they shot at him, and he said the buckshot hit him. Like, so you know what the buckshot is? The spray.
Yeah, spray.
So he still got the spray in his arm and stuff. So he was in the hospital, woke up. So anyways, real rough part of Baltimore. But they had I think 4 or 5 guys, 4 guys on that his high school team. They won 2 years in a row, never lost a game. 4 guys were first round NBA picks.
Wow, cool.
Look, can you think about that? There's starters in the NBA. You got 5; they play most of the game. You got 10 guys on the team.
Yeah, that's crazy.
4 guys went, and they're superstars.
Yeah, that's
unreal. So, anyways, really good, really cool.
Yeah. So is the book just like fluffy, just not a lot of value?
Well, it comes down to like I'm only maybe halfway through, and it's
Like
just
pretty
like
cliched, like that kind of
kind of
stuff.
cliche. I
Yeah.
was this. I went here, played, and I was good, and then I got drafted. It's not the real.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I was hoping for. Like basically, I'm 5'3", dude. You need to listen to my story.
Mm-hmm.
The good thing was that I got out of it was that he did talk about his mentors, a little bit about his mentors, his good coaches, and people that believed in him. But this guy had, like, you think about the belief he had in himself, right?
Yeah.
Like every court that he went on as a kid, like even in the projects, all the way up to professional, there was obviously the seed of doubt planted that whatever, you can't play, and he had to earn his way onto the basketball courts in the projects because they wouldn't let him play, and then he would play, and they're like, "Oh, he's not bad." Then he'd be like, "Oh, we want Muggsy," and then it was the same thing all the way up. When he went to Wake Forest University, they're like, "Are we really going to sign this guy?" Obviously,
Yeah.
5'3".
Yeah, that's crazy.
So what was neat about it, like I guess my perspective, I could use a thing with him. You would think that the physical side wouldn't be an attribute for him, right? Obviously, like in the National Basketball Association. So he was explaining early in his career, like early playing basketball, that he used his speed, like to like do not let people ever catch you, and like just be really, really, really fast, so he'd get the ball and go. But the second part was that he would look for the big guys up the court, and he basically learned through a lot of practice that get the ball to the big guys, and you'll be you'll be the best at that. So there's kind of two things. He is limited in his size, but he used his quickness that really no one could really catch him.
Yeah.
Like he's extremely fast. So he found the one thing physically that made him better than anybody in the world, and that's really hard to believe, right?
Yeah.
You see pictures of him. He's 5'3" against a 7'1" guy. He played with Manute Bol. Came to just above his knees.
Well, yeah, seriously. So that's actually cool because
it's really cool.
He's so much smaller that
not kind of small.
He could actually, and he must have obviously turn that actually into an asset because he's so small that there'd probably be like a little bit of underestimate this guy, the amount of control you could have when you're that small with the ball.
Yeah.
Because you don't the ball isn't bouncing 2 meters every time you dribble it, right? Yeah. It's close to the ground. He could that quickness element for sure.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting story because he was the only, and he could dunk too, couldn't he?
I don't think he could.
No?
Spud Webb could.
Oh, Spud Webb. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah,
5'6" or
that's
5'7".
what I was thinking of him. Yeah, yeah.
Spud Webb was sick.
Yeah, yeah. But was he a point guard, Muggsy?
Yeah, yeah.
He was.
But they call the term after him small ball. Like he was kind of like played everywhere, I guess.
Oh yeah.
I don't understand basketball enough.
Yeah, I don't at all.
Yeah, so like we talk in hockey, like you have to find your thing.
Yeah.
That you do better than anyone else, and then nothing else actually matters. So with basically 99.999% going against you, he found one thing, and that was his speed.
Yep.
Right? And getting the ball to bigger players.
Yeah.
So from the mental part, he knew that obviously he's not going to physically dominate anybody, although he did with his speed. He found a way mentally to use other people or to make other people better. And the other thing that he is he knows how to run a floor. Like he learned how to be a leader that can run the floor, so he can direct traffic. So basically, he'd get the ball, and the first thing was he'd be looking at his big guys and get the ball to them. And that guys love playing with him, I guess. And there's nothing but praise. Obviously, who's going to cut him up? Get nothing but praise from this guy. He's all heart and soul, right? But so that was, that's the
good part.
Obvious though. That's the obvious. But I'm really pulling it out. But as I'm speaking about it, he found a way to use his speed. Someone could have stepped on him and squish him like a bug. But
that's good though, man. Because sometimes you're not always going to read a book that's the best thing ever. But it's you pull what you can. I actually have a story about that too. I think I've said it before. Because there's always normally whatever you're doing, you can pull out something that's useful, and even if it's a negative thing, you can pull out like, oh, that's negative. Like I don't actually want to keep that. Now I know that that's a thing I don't want. Remember I told you I read that book about cleaning your room? It's called The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. That's the book.
Yeah.
And I read it. It was recommended in another book that I was reading, and so I picked it up. This was like maybe 5 years ago when I was on like a crazy reading spree, and I was just trying to get my hands on anything, and I was open to reading anything or whatever, and I grabbed it. And I remember while I was reading it, it's literally, using that word appropriately, about cleaning like the spaces that you live in. That's what it's about. It's just like how best to organize your room. There's no like philosophical discussion. There's no deeper meaning. That is what the book is about. And there was a couple like deeper things you could pull out. And basically the point of the book, which is what I ended up pulling out, was when you walk into a room, make it a room that you enjoy being in. That was the lesson that I pulled out of this book. While I was reading the book, though, I was like, this is so dumb. It's like telling me how to organize my clothes, or like how to organize my bedroom, how to organize the kitchen, how to decide whether you should keep something or get rid of something. And that's like kind of relatable for most people because you have all kinds of shit that you don't need, and how to actually decide, should I keep this or not, and staying attached to things that you don't really need to have anymore. Those things are useful. But the thing I ended up pulling out, which I kind of realized later, was when you walk into your bedroom or you walk into your office or whatever, make it a space you want to be in so that you just feel better about your life. Like love the things that are in the room around you, whether it's a picture or a bookshelf or your desk or whatever. If you walk into a chaotic mess that you hate,
clutter,
or your
knacks,
or
just to have it there,
right?
To make it look like
and
it's
the bedroom's a big one too, right? If you walk into your room and it's absolute chaos, it's like you're supposed to be going in there to go to sleep.
Yep.
And if it's a chaotic environment that you're walking into, it makes it more difficult than it should be to try to relax, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So it ended up being really useful. But my point is, while I was reading it, it's like, this is so dumb, but you can pull out something, even if it's something that's not good that you pull out. So from that book that you're reading, maybe it's not the best book ever, but you still talked about it for 8 minutes of the good thing about it.
Yeah, and once I get through the other half, maybe there's going to be something special. But I don't see it, but that's okay.
Yeah. That's cool.
So I think I'm going to get the Nick Nurse one next, or that book Tough. And I'm going to, you know what? I've got this book in my car. I'm going to give it to you just so you can just see if you're on the exact same page as me. Sure. So it's called Living Lean by Mike Dolce. It's
I know that guy.
Yeah.
The
It's
Dolce
the
diet.
worst book I've ever read in my life. It's double space. It was $54.
I'm thinking, you told me about this. Yeah.
I want you next week when we talk. I want you to just tell me what you think about it. Like you don't, because I guarantee you. Well, it'll take you about 40 minutes to get through the whole book.
Yeah.
Because it's double space with words about this big.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense.
Right.
It was just, I steal money. That's what I got out of that. I can't stand it. It's like, so every time I look at it, it's in my car. I've left it there for 2 years. So I want to throw it out and just take a piss on it.
Yeah.
But it's there, and I'm going to let you make an assumption to see if it irks you as much as it irks me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's just another good point too, is one of the best things you can do when you're going to buy any product, but books too, is check the reviews, man. Like, see what people have to say about it, not on their website that they sell it. Like, go on Amazon reviews or
it works.
Google reviews. Yeah, it actually
I've
is.
never done that.
The consensus opinion is normally pretty accurate to what the book is. And you can always find like the super negative that doesn't actually apply, but whatever the general rating is, if it's a 3 out of 5 stars, it's probably a 3 out of 5. It's probably not, unless you have a very specific reason for going after that thing. If you're just looking for a general advice, looking at reviews is really, really important for anything that you're buying, but books in particular.
Okay.
So hockey season's coming.
Yeah, it's exciting, man.
It is exciting.
What do you think?
I was talking to, we had a couple of the groups in yesterday to work out.
Yeah.
And, well, for me, I know I've said this before too. I've been out of hockey. I haven't played since I was 23. It was my last year playing now. I'm turning 28. So that'll be 4 years. I haven't played an actual hockey game, which is crazy.
Hard to believe, man. It seems like it hasn't been that long for you.
It's one of those, you know how you said time is fast and slow?
Yeah.
It's one of those. I think about it a certain way, and it's like, man, it was like yesterday. And I think about it another way, and it's like, man, it feels like forever since I played. But I'm getting the love is coming back. Not for playing, though. Just for the game itself. I do love playing. Like, I skated with the boys at the end of summer there, and it's like right away. It takes 2 seconds, and the competitive gene is back on, and I love playing in the battle and all that. But
they love it when you come out too.
Yeah, the desire to play isn't necessarily there anymore, but I still love to play. But I just love watching. Like, it's such a great sport. And,
well, you're so involved now too with the kids, right?
And that's why. That's what I was gonna say, is because the kids that I'm training, I'm so looking forward. They all have their training camps this week for OHL camps. junior camps are finishing up and teams are being finalized and signing, and all the AAA teams are going through their final tryouts, or for the older groups are getting into their team practices and some exhibition games and things like that. And just talking with some of the kids yesterday with the U16 group, so they're going into their draft year. And I've said it before, but I was kind of just revisiting it again while they were talking. I couldn't be more fired up to watch like minor hockey. Like, you think about how irrelevant that, I mean, it's not, but it is to my life, where it's like that really doesn't have any bearing on my life at all. And I'm so pulled to want to watch, and I'm so interested to go and take my own time and drive my car by myself to the game and try to hide because I actually want to watch and not talk to anybody. Like, it's not social hour. I actually care about watching, going to Saginaw, going to Guelph, watching some of the Spitz games, the Flyers, the junior teams that are around here, and all our guys. It's like, I can start to feel the heat for all of them coming up because the season's starting, and this will be the first year really in the first season in two years, maybe two and a half. Where because it's a full year because of COVID. Yeah. Right. So it'd be nice to see with no barriers that just get to play, particularly the OHL guys, because they get to go play their all the cross games against all the teams, which they didn't. They played Kitchener 48 times last year or whatever.
Yeah, so 48, 40, 58 times.
Yeah.
Like that.
So it'd be nice to get to see that and whatever. So just got a little bit of excitement. I know you were in Guelph the last couple of days and you're going back tomorrow to watch the rest of training camp, whatever. So just I don't know, start talking about that.
Well, first of all, to go back to what you're saying, of course you're excited because there's a whole bunch of interesting things for you because you're involved with the kids. You built relationships. You've helped them with their strength, their speed, their quickness, their mental attitude, and all that kind of stuff. So now when you go see whoever it is that you're going to watch, you can watch them with interest as almost like Uncle Andy did.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I want my kids to do so well. You can so there's that. You can see if they're progressing. You can also take measure or take stock of your work. Hey, did anything translate into being a better hockey player? No,
I didn't really think of that, but that's right. Yeah, that is a reason. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Because I used to do that too. I remember watching Zach when he was going into his Bantam midget year, Zach Cassian, and I'd see him pull off something that we were working on. Or Danny Maggio did the same thing. He was first round to Sudbury Wolves. And I remember him texting me, "Hey, we worked on this. I scored a goal on that." It's like, okay, cool, man. It kicks in, and it's and the next thing about it is that they love to see their coaches or people that invest in them watching their games. So it's just really nice. But yeah, of course you're excited, man.
Yeah.
And then it'll get you back in, where we feel certain guys are. It's like our own internal scouting, where we feel someone would rank as far as the high level hockey player goes.
Yeah.
You'll look around and say, "Oh, I was right," or "Oh, okay, I thought he was better than that," or "I thought he was worse than that," right?
Right.
So you get a different eye for the game, and then next year when they come in, you might take one of the D that we were just talking about earlier. You might look at the way he plays and say, you know what, I think you need a little bit more of this and a little bit less of that.
Yeah.
So it's going to make you a better trainer and stuff. But anyways, aside from that, hockey is awesome, and youth hockey, to me, once you get out of it, like with my son, once you get out of it, you can say, like what you said, it's irrelevant. And what that means is irrelevant as far as it's just youth hockey. I don't mean just youth hockey. What do I mean by that? It's just you're learning hockey, and you move on to higher levels after. It's a whole different ballgame. I think that's what you meant by that. Eh?
More or less.
But it's awesome. When you remove yourself as a parent and just watch hockey, or if you watch it as a parent and you just watch your kids playing, it's awesome. You cheer for kids. You want them to do well.
You can see how I'm starting to understand a little bit better the tendency to be crazy parent because of how much I'm finding I care about these kids that I don't even have any relationship to outside of being their trainer. Now it's like I'm starting to get a little bit of older brother syndrome where it's like I'm excited to go watch where I'm like 10 years older than some of these kids. So it's like a little bit like older brother. And like we've hung out all summer and driving them to the track and just talking about their life, and they're getting through high school and all the weird moments of going from a boy to a man and all those kind of things. So I'm feeling like I know them and I feel like an older brother kind of thing, but I can start to understand a little bit of the craziness when you're that involved is not the word I want, but when you're that involved with your kid, invested is the word.
You're 100% invested.
You're that invested with your own flesh and blood playing the game. I'm starting to understand it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Not that I think it's right or okay or rationalized in any way when it gets to the extreme ends, but um, but yeah, man, it's exciting. I'm excited for the kids because I remember being in their position, and even the kids that are in the OHL that have a big year coming up this year and whatever. I remember having those, like, the big games, the big opportunities
Yeah.
where people are watching and that kind of thing, and it's just exciting, and I'm excited to get out and watch, man. I really am.
Oh yeah. We
Yeah.
got some good ones here too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then as far as the OHL camps, yeah, they started on the weekend. This is really neat, man. I got a whole different perspective, right? Because last year, Charlie's first year in the OHL as a 16-year-old kid, just drafted a high pick. I'm talking, I'm a guy that's been around the league and the game and all that kind of stuff, and I know the process. So we went there last year, and I saw the parents how we were last year, the new ones, the high draft picks. I was actually speaking to a couple of them. We're going to be teammates. Like, even though I'm not on the team, the parents, we're still on the same team. We want, like, of course I want the Guelph Storm to be the best team in the OHL for the next 3 years. My son's on it and his teammates, and if we can help a parent out, then that's the way to go too, right? So I'm always, lending my hand. How you doing? And I get a lot of people calling me. We're friends. So the new couple, I'm like, what's your son's name? And they said the name. I said, oh wow, I heard blah 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 blah. And they said, oh, we are so nervous.
Yeah.
I said, of course you are, man. There's so many unknowns here, and he didn't sleep last night. I go, of course he didn't. Like, you have no idea what you're getting into, and this is a high end pick. When I look at them, and now the calmness that I have this year, like, we went last year, and it's not because, like, Charlie already signed when he went in, and didn't mean that he was going to play every game, but it meant that he could go into camp with a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah.
Right. Not the pressure that most kids have to perform really, really well. And you can see it in the younger guys. Like, there's a tightness, and obviously, man. Right. So, whereas my son this year went in, and it was like, okay, he knew his billets. We walked in there, high five, had a beer with them. Great to see you. You know the city, you know the rink, you know where you're going and all that stuff. We didn't know any of that stuff last year.
Yeah.
So you're sitting there when they step on the ice as rookies, and you're evaluating everybody, and, like, I mean everybody. That guy's really good. This, and the kids go doing the same thing. So this year, as we go, we're watching and we're just calm. We know what's going to happen, and the kid steps on the ice and he's a whole different player.
Yeah.
So, but you can see the nervousness, the uncertainty, they want to prove, like, everything about this. They don't fit in yet. Right, you see the vets, the guys that have played on the team, just waiting, maybe watching a session that's on the ice, and they all get together and their buddies, and you see the rookie come in, and should I sit with them? I'm gonna sit over here a little bit, and maybe someone, you could just see it. Maybe someone's gonna say, "Hey, Eric, get up here, buddy." You know what I mean? And it happens sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. But you could just see, like, oh my god, their asses are puckered up so tight, right? And it should be.
Well, you were saying when we were talking earlier today, you can see who's on the team right away, right? And it makes, obviously, right? The guys that are there, normally they're a little bit more physically developed, which is one. They have their gear, which is two. But there's just a level of confidence and comfortability that they have, right? Because they're aware of where they are. They know the rink, like you said. They have their gear all set up. There's no question. They can go talk to the coach if they want to talk to him. The trainers, they already know who they are, and there's no unknowns. Yeah. The only unknowns that they have is, like, let's see who shows up this year.
Yeah.
That's the only unknown, really. And so the fact that that's removed, even just going into your second year, and then not to mention guys that are fourth years or overagers coming back. Yeah. It's like it's just they're home. You can tell that they're home when they're out on the ice, and for the new guys, it's really, I remember it, the nervousness, you feel like nobody knows who you are, and you're trying to navigate how you should be behaving and how you should be playing. You want to make sure you're trying to stand out and perform, but you don't want to overstep where you got someone coming running you now because of that, or you don't want the guys on the team to think you're a goof. So you want to stand out, but not too much. It's like it's a hard mental thing to navigate. But
hard to tell someone to shut up when they're bugging you.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, you're
But
the new
saying the
guy.
uncertainty, there's no unknowns. I want to get back to that because there's no unknowns, but there's a ton of unknowns.
For the guys returning, you mean?
Yep.
Okay, go for it.
Yep. But I wanted to go back to the just guys stepping on the ice.
Okay.
So it was very, very interesting, or not really, I guess. But so now that we've seen the players, so you know the second that guys jump on the ice, who played there last year,
Right away.
and there's some guys that played like a handful of games and um, like not full time, but like we're on the team. But as soon as they step on the ice and the puck moves or the skating, you know exactly who the veterans are. So when people think, and we're talking, you got first round picks, you got second round picks, you got third round picks, you got like early picks, but you know who the veterans are immediately. There was one younger guy that signed that kind of looked like a veteran, kind of. And then in the game, it was like he did and he didn't, but he was as close as you can come to someone that looks like he played on the team before.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately, so it's funny, right? People think like this is what I'm saying about how hard it is. When you go to one of these, everyone thinks, not everyone thinks. I hate saying it like that, but people overestimate how good they are. That's my point. They overestimate how good they are until you get to a situation like that where there's 58 kids and you don't even know if you get on the ice and you go, and the parents say it like it's like the common thing is, wow, there's a lot of people. Wow, there's a lot of good players. It's like, wow, yeah. This is why it's really hard.
Yeah.
Okay. So, anyways, there you go. That was my statement about the quality of play. You look right away and you'll know who the veterans are and you'll know who's trying to figure it out. Part of that is only because there's uncertainty, like, should I skate faster? Should I hit this guy? Should I, from the younger guys, and they're just trying to get comfortable. And then part of it is these guys are just better. So when you think that you're stepping into the Ontario Hockey League, the NHL, college, junior B, whatever level that you're stepping up to, and you're just going there and you're going to be the same person you are, that year, 2, 3, 4, and sometimes 5 years age gap is not just a little baby step.
Right.
It's freaking huge.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And then so I looked at, selfishly looking at my son, and I'm just going to make the one comparison. I don't want to talk about him too much, but last year when he went to camp, he was ready, pretty much physically mature. He definitely got way better as the season went on. But at camp, I was watching last year, it's like he didn't really want to do too much with the puck. It was like, okay, let's just make a safe play. Don't want to get embarrassed. Want to do the right thing. I got to get it to the 19-year-old, right?
Yeah,
this year, when the puck is on a stick, now he makes plays that he's supposed to make.
Yeah.
So the difference is night and day. Night and day.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, some of these kids that are nervous, what they're going to need is they're going to need that preseason game or games, plural, or, the early picks that are going to be kicking around. They're going to need maybe 20 games or 10 games and have to do something that makes them say, oh, like there's that aha moment. So you got to find your thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So it might be the goal scorer. You might say, okay, I need to the kid that has speed and burns guys to the outside, maybe he's a little nervous to take it to the net in the OHL. And someone would say, well, just take it to the net. Well, yeah, you haven't played against a 20-year-old without teeth. Right? No, I'm being honest.
For sure,
like,
man.
people don't actually understand that. Like, parents look around, they go, wow, these kids all have beards. They look 25. Like, right? So when that kid decides that he's going to do the thing that he did in midget, it might work, might not, but he's got to get to that point, which might take a little time.
Right. So I wanted to kind of switch gears a little bit. Actually, maybe before I switch gears, you said you wanted to talk about the uncertainty thing again? Because I was going to talk about the parents a little bit, but let's do that first.
Yeah, I want to pull that back around because this actually would include parents too.
Yeah, cool.
But so you think, even though you're a step ahead and you've got a year under your belt or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, you think that, okay, I'm just going to come in and here we go. But the reality is, and I know all the kids that I've talked to, they still don't know where they stand because they made a trade, they drafted this, here's an obvious. So the older guys don't pay attention to the draft as much, probably, but they do. So they know who their first pick, second, third pick are. And what do you hear when the draft picks, right? It's always how amazing they are. Yeah. Every team, every interview, it's like, oh, we drafted this guy. We've been targeting him all year. He's exactly what we need. He's going to be a great player. And what they mean by that, he's going to be a great player in 4 years or 3 years, not necessarily today. But the kids hear that, right? Oh, I'm a right D and they drafted a right D. Oh, no, that's no good. Then this guy's going to come in and be, the savior. Well, not necessarily, right? But as a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid, you're sitting there going, okay, there's a threat, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And then you see, someone gets traded, and you're like, holy crap! And you see someone having a good camp, and you're like, oh, so as certain as you are, there's an uncertainty is that, okay, am I good enough? And I talked to some kids, not even just on Charlie's teams, on other teams, the guys that you would think are no worries at all, but they're worried. Not worried, but it's like, hope it works out for me.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't even know. And then the other thing you're looking at is if you were on the fourth line last year, you're hoping you're on at least on the third line. And then if you're on the third, you're hoping you're at least on the second. Or if you see some other guy come in, or the team decides to load up a little bit, you're never safe. You never feel that good.
Right.
So, and then from a parent's perspective, that's the chatter all the time too, right? Parents that have been there for years, and I'm not just talking Guelph, I'm talking the other teams too that I talk to the parents. It's like, man, there's a lot of guys out. It's like there will always be, listen, there will always be a lot of guys out. Always. When you go to your NHL camp, there are going to be 50 to 60 guys. It's just the way it is. You're going to be competing for spots. And when you go to the American League or whatever minors, there's going to be the same things. You're still only, you're going to be competing 20 guys for one spot or two spots.
Yeah.
It's the way it is.
Yeah.
So like on paper, Charlie's team has 0 spots.
Yeah.
But that obviously, if there's someone better than you, they're taking that guy.
Right.
They're going to give a little bit of a leash to a veteran, but so you're always got to be on. So it's never an easy thing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant when I said the only uncertain thing that returning players have is they don't know who's showing up to camp, right? That's kind of what I meant saying that. But maybe we'll branching off that a little bit. I want you to talk about a little bit of dig into a little bit of that mental part a little bit more of the uncertainty, and if you're in those spots. So if you weren't a top 6 forward with the team last year, to your point, you're like, okay, I was on the 4th line. I hope I'm at least on the 3rd line. And then if you're not, or if you don't start there, now you can start to get into a little bit of a tailspin, like, oh no, like, am I not, or you get the attitude of like, oh, they're screwing me over, or like, I should be getting more than I'm getting. Or if they ask you to go do certain things that first-year players normally do, but you're a second-year player, now it's like, wow, I don't feel like I'm a part of this, or those types of thoughts. So talk a little bit about kind of that mental side of that for players, and maybe a little bit of how you can deal with that.
Yeah, well, you're always going to have it.
Yeah.
Like the first thing you really do have to understand is that this is going, like I've said a million times, becoming a professional hockey player or playing the OHL, college, whatever, it will be one of the hardest things you've ever done, because they want the best of the best. And the only thing you could do, well, let me just back up a little bit. The next thing you have to understand is that, we've talked about this several times, but this is where it becomes really important. When things get hard, or when doubt creeps in, that's where you're going to go into the negative, or you're going to go into like whatever questions you ask yourself, you're going to get answers, right? So if it's, God, they bring this guy in to take my spot, like, oh, there's a lot of spots here, like, I hope I'm good enough. Those are not the best things you should be saying to yourself. So it's about having the right mindset. Okay, let me get back to that in a second. Mm-hmm. The next thing you got to understand is that if you can understand the business of hockey and understand that when you're making a team at 17, like I'm going to just talk about the OHL. So at the OHL, the league is for what age? What teams will have the best teams? Who will be the best players?
Yeah, 18 to 20.
18, yeah. Yes, but 19-year-olds are the shit.
Yeah.
There should be the best players, and then your overagers.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you look at it, if you make the league at 16, it's just not your time yet, unless you're just different. But if we keep it honest, the first round pick, that's like even an early round pick on any team, is most likely going to be a 4th line player. He's not the first line guy. There are exceptions, don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, as the season gets better at Christmas and all that stuff, and the grind starts, you start working your way down the lineup, usually. Because unless the team's doing a rebuild.
Yeah, everything tightens up. That's just what happens. Up.
And the league gets better. You get NHL guys back and stuff. So whenever anyone thinks at training camp, that's not even close to what the league's like at Christmas and then going into playoffs. Okay? Yeah. So what you have to do as a player is you have to look at it long term. This is where parents and mentors can really help you. So it's not about what you do at 16. It's really not. It's irrelevant. It's what you learn. It's actually what you learn and what you take from it, and the work ethic that you put in, and the mindset and all those things. That's what's important. And grinding through things when it's hard. And it's actually not even about what you do at 17 and 18. You know, you should be getting your way there. But you actually have, if you come in as a 16-year-old, you have 4 years plus an overage. That's 5 years to be a great hockey player. It's 5 years, not one. And what I think a lot of the kids do, well, not that I think, I know a lot of kids do, is they look at today. So the pressure today, it can really get them. And then you look like, how long am I going to be doing this? And, you know, like some guys are like totally frustrated and bent out of shape and lost and tortured after a month of not seeing a power play or not getting a good regular shift or getting scratched a couple times.
Yeah.
It's been a month. You got 5 years or 4 years. So even if you make it at 17, you still have 4. And if you make it at 18, you still have 3.
Yep.
It's a ton of time, but the hardest part is seeing past your nose, right? Seeing past your nose and sticking to the grind and sticking to, you know, what it's really about. So as I told Charlie and most of the kids that I train, it's like when you go into the league, your expectations should be absolutely nothing except for you're there to learn everything that you possibly can. It's not just words. You're there to learn the game, learn the process, learn how the league works, learn the drills, learn how to work hard, learn how to be a pro, learn like every single aspect of it, learn how to live away at home from home, learn how to eat right, like learn how to work out right, learn how to pick your friends properly, like learn, right? And especially learn the game of hockey. And then your only other expectation you should have for yourself is to earn something. And earning something might not even happen because you're not in total control of that, which is my next point. So you have to go there with the mindset of you're going to be there to learn, and no matter what you think, because your opinion of yourself actually doesn't even matter. It's you just got to do the work and put your nose to the grindstone and just get through it. And I remember my son and a couple of the other kids talk about that first year and they go, "Oh wow, that was hard," but then it's over.
Yeah.
And then you're a better man for it.
For sure.
But then the last part is I said those are the only things you can control, and that's the next point is you have to be. This is a conversation I had with Charlie and just maybe 2 other guys, and like with the parents. This year, if you start off on the first line, on the fourth line, if you get scratched every 3rd game, it's still the process.
Yep.
And you do the exact same thing, and grind your way through until you're done playing hockey, because it's the same thing. And so my point of that is that you can control what you can control, and that's your eat, your sleep, your workout, how hard you work, your desire, like finishing it, like doing your job the best you can. Who you hang out with, all those things that you can actually control, that's what you can control. And the coach is going to look and he's going to say, yes, today's your day, or no, today's not. But why should that change anything you do for the next 4 or 5 years?
Yep.
Because your day will come. It will come. It will come, unless you're just not good enough. But you'll know that, because the harder you work for a longer period of time at those high levels, you will be a better player. It's just the way it is.
Yep.
So your day will come. It's a matter of sticking freaking to it.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the most important piece of advice that I think is missing from so many young guys is it doesn't have to happen today. You don't need to be the first line power play today. Like, you don't, I remember that when I played, and it was not just me. It was common for everyone. Everyone wanted all the ice time, and no one ever explained going in that, hey, this is how it's going to be, unless for some reason you are so outside the norm that we can't help but to have you in whatever position. And if somebody would have just said that and explained it in the way that you just did, to all the first year guys coming in, regardless if you're a first round OHL pick or you're trying out for your junior B team or whatever the situation is for you, having a coach or a parent or a mentor, like you said, that can explain that to you and tell you that would have been the most valuable thing in terms of advice that any player could have in any sport going into the first
Well,
year.
it's no different than business, right?
Yeah. Well,
it's the same thing.
And this is what I was going to, I literally wrote that exact same thing down. It's like,
funny.
if you go and get a new job and you're starting on Monday, is it reasonable for you to expect that you're going to get all the best clients and all the best contracts and all of the best work and doing only the things you want and working the hours that you want right away in your first year working at a new company?
That's right.
Never. That would never happen.
First 5 years.
Yeah. What do you have? You have probation for 3 months. You don't get your benefits that kick in for 3 months.
Yeah.
You don't get a pension that starts until 3 months. So for the first 3 months, at the very least, you don't even know if you should be there or not, because
you might not.
You're not really on the team.
That's right. Yeah.
You might not make the cut.
Yeah.
And in every other avenue of life except for sport, for some reason, people will go in and expect that they should be given everything that 3-year, 4-year experienced worker, because that's what it is. You go this is where it turns into the business of hockey now, right? When you start to go, you go and play junior or you play college or whatever, it's a job now. Like, you are being hired by the team to provide a service to them that makes their organization better and make money and win a championship and develop their players and promote the program and all that stuff. That's actually what your job is when you go play for an OHL team or an NCAA team or whatever junior team you're playing for. That is your job. It's not just I'm paying to play and have fun now like you do in minor hockey.
No, it's different.
So if you think of it in those terms, the first time you get a job when you're 16, you go for your interview at McDonald's. Should you have the same responsibility as the manager? No. And when you think about it in that way, maybe that's a helpful way for people to think about it, to your point, in terms of business or whatever. It's like you need time to figure out how it works. And everyone is so quick in their first year to jump to, well, I know how it works and I'm just not getting ice time. And it's like, you don't, though. You don't know how it works.
So when they're going in a tight game and they need that guy to get something done, do they look at the youngest guy and say, yeah, go do this important role? No, you're going to give it to someone that's older. It's the same thing with the power play, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, the young guy might have a good game or might be looking good, but when the game is on the line and my job is on the line and I need to win this game, I'm looking at I'm going with my go-to guy.
Of course,
it is what it is. And there's a side note is that everyone's in a rush, and I get it. Everyone's in a rush because playing for the whatever team is like the best thing, and it's like, okay, I made it to a certain level, but it might not be the best thing for your development. So I look at the kids that maybe get called up for games, or the coach or the GM says, you know what, there's only a couple of spots, man. You need to be, you got to know that maybe you're signed. You need to know that the best place for you this year is playing at a junior B or in the OJHL or at a different level. And we'll get you some games if we can. If we can't, you just need to go and develop. It's like it's actually the best thing for you. Unless it's not the best thing for you and the team needs you there, but you don't look at that and say, "Oh, I didn't make it." You're in the what do you call it? Funnel.
Yeah, in the funnel.
You're in the funnel, and it's just about doing the work.
Yeah.
And you just have to have that perspective, and it is hard. And parents want it really bad, and the kids want it bad, and the parents look at the kids and they don't want them to be hurt. Yeah. They just want nice things to happen to their kid. But it's just, hockey is a very, very tough sport. All sports are. All businesses are. Well, it's a ruthless game.
And that's why, like, when you say it is a tough thing to understand, I feel like it's only that tough because it's not really explained or taught. Because it's not that tough to understand. Like if you're a lawyer and you have a really important case, I'm the CEO of whatever Ford, and I need a lawyer to get this job done for me. I'm not going to the guy that's never had a case before.
Yeah, wearing a seersucker suit.
Right? Like, it's like, listen, pal, you're a nice kid, but you've had 3 cases. I need the guy that's been a lawyer for 43 years to take care of this.
Yeah, that's been there, done that.
And that just makes sense. The lawyer that just started working, he wouldn't be like, whoa, how am I not getting this opportunity? I'm better. I'm as good as him. Like, I could talk as well as he can, and my suit's just as nice as his, and whatever stupid thing you're saying. It's like, that's not the point. And it's not hard to understand if you put it in those terms. But now we go to a sport, we go to hockey, and you try to explain it in that way. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm as good as him. Why am I not playing? It's like, no, it's the same, because this is a job now. It's not just your fun minor hockey that you're playing with your buddies, And that's a really important thing for people to understand, man. That is probably the most valuable thing that you could take going into a first year, going into a second year. If you're under 3 years of experience, it's like in whatever the league is, because the same thing's going to happen when you jump to the NHL now. You're going to hop in if you get drafted and you go to your first camp when you're 19 or 20, you're probably getting sent home, man. You're probably getting sent back to your OHL team or your wherever you came from for another year or two or whatever. Then you're probably going to wait in the AHL. And you're going to show up to your AHL team, and every single guy next to you has been drafted in the top 4 rounds of the NHL, and they are all 50 goal scorers and won this award and that award or defenseman of the year or whatever, and they're all all-stars. It's like now you get to start again at year one.
Well, so a really good example is one of our local guys, Hayden Hodgson.
Yeah.
So he was a second or third round pick to Erie. So if you look at his junior career, he had a good one, but he went to Erie, went a year or two in Erie, a year or two in Sarnia, like a year and a half in Sarnia. He scored some goals and played well, and then he went to Saginaw, scored a couple, played for a year and a half there, and then he never got drafted, but then he played in the East Coast. He went to the American League. He went to the East Coast again. He went to Europe. He went all over the place, and I think he's 26 now. So he's got 5-6 years under his belt. Yep. Last year he got called up to the Philadelphia Flyers, and it wasn't by design, I don't think, on the Flyers. So he went up, played well, got in a fight, scored a goal, played a few games, and then this summer they signed him to a 2-year deal. And it's like, he got there. Yeah, well, and he got there the hard way, but that's the most. It's the actual way.
That is the way.
It's actually the way.
Unless you're an exception, as we always say.
Yes. So that's why these guys are tough, man. They're tough. They do it for the love of hockey. They go through the grind. They do all the hard stuff for a long period of time, and that's what makes them so great.
So I pulled up his just because he did he just resign?
Yeah, a couple days ago.
Yeah. So he's a great. This is a great example. So he's a 96, by the way.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at, he was out of the OHL in 2017.
Yeah.
It is 22, 23 that he's signed his first, and it's a 2-way.
Yeah. Well, the first year's a 2-way, second year's a 1-way.
Right. So he signed a 2-year deal. So he's still on, this year he's still going to be on a 2-way contract.
Yeah.
So
which means if he plays in the NHL, he gets NHL money.
Right.
And if he goes to the American League, he gets take a zero off his paycheck.
Right. So this is in no way is he guaranteed like he's going to be with the Flyers all year. No. And it's going to be 2023, right? Yeah. So that's 6 years that he has spent since his overage year in the OHL.
That's right.
Not his NHL draft year, because his NHL draft year would have been in 2015.
Yep.
So just think about that length of time, man. We're talking 8 years since his NHL draft year for him to start to get a chance, like in the big leagues, you know.
And just a side note, Charlie skated with him a couple of days last week before he went to Guelph. And he goes, Dad, he came up to me and he just kept talking to me. And he was the nicest guy. And he goes, Dad, so listen to this. Dad, he's good. I go, I know he's good and he's tough. He goes, yeah, and he's like a super, super nice, like a great guy.
Yeah.
But Dad, he's good.
Yeah.
I go, yeah, that's what NHL hockey players look like, even though he's not quite there in the NHL.
Yeah.
That's how hard it is.
So his AHL, then he went East Coast, Slovakia, East Coast, couple games with the Flyers, AHL for 46 games last year.
Yeah.
And now he's getting potentially his first actual opportunity.
Yeah.
Signed a contract.
So the question is, and it's not even not about that particular one, but so he signed his NHL contract. Does anybody feel bad for his road now?
Yeah, seriously.
And if he plays 3, 4, 5, 10 years with Philadelphia, does it matter? Doesn't even matter. No. You know, like people go through this thing and it's like, oh, if you like parents especially, or when you're close to people, it's like, oh man, just I wanted to, you know, I would just wish it would happen for him. It's like, but this is the process. It's really, really, really hard. Like I said, it's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. Most likely. I don't know anything harder. It's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. Why the heck would you ever think it's easy? And part of the thing that will make you a great hockey player is actually going through it, is mucking out those ugly, ugly times where it's not easy. And that's what we always say. Character's not made when it's easy. Yep. Character is shown when you're facing adversity. That's who the true person is. It's going to come out. So it's easy to read the book, and it's easy for people to say, yeah, you know, I faced adversity, or, keep your nose to the grindstone when things get tough, and when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Those are words. But we've all been through the times where it's like, this is actually in the mud right now, actually, and there's nothing fun about it. But it's actually where it reveals, okay, are you actually going to do the work for not just for a day or two or a year, or this is what you want. You're going to have to do the work until it's done.
Yeah.
Period. And no one feels sorry for you because everybody wants that job anyway. So,
yeah.
But at the end of it, tough times make tough people. Bottom line.
Yeah. The term that I keep thinking of when we're talking about this is how important it is to just be patient. And it's just a word and whatever, but if you're a second-year guy thinking you're getting screwed because you're not getting the same opportunity as you're still only a second-year guy. It's like, you're not there yet, man. And being able to understand that, and that also doesn't mean that you should just be complacent either, right? That's not the same. Like, if you should be scrapping to get everything you can, and if you don't get to play, like, it should piss you off that you don't get to play, and all that's fine.
1000%.
But it's having the perspective to zoom out in those moments where it's getting frustrating, because it's going to get frustrating and you're always going to want to play. I'm not saying be okay getting 2 shifts a game or be okay getting scratched or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. It's just, you still get pissed off, but keep things in perspective, right? Understand where you're at, and that this isn't the end. Because if you don't have that perspective, if you can't zoom out and understand, okay, I need to have the patience to wait a little bit, then in those moments, you might think it's over. You might think, oh, I have no chance. I don't belong. I shouldn't be here. And we hear that from countless players all the time. We have it with a bunch of kids right now that we're hearing, that you've talked to and that I've seen locally and other places, where they feel like it's over. They don't want to be there anymore. They don't want to do it. And it's like, yeah, but you're just in the middle of it. You're in the middle of the grind still, man. And so be upset, like be pissed off you don't get to play, but have enough to, take the step back and say, this is just part of the deal.
Yeah. Not unlike the business, right? This business.
Totally.
Like when I was building this business, there was times where I did it and things just flowed along, and I didn't really have to do a whole lot extra to make things work well for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was times where it's like, oh, things are slowing down a little bit. Like, why? So at that point, you sit there and you go, put the thumb in the mouth, suck your thumb for a while if you want to do that. I didn't really find that helps a lot. No, it doesn't. Like, it doesn't help a lot. And to have the poor me, and you can have it for a few minutes, but you have to go, okay, why? And what can I do? So like when building the business, well, how did it help? What did I do every time to get out of any kind of funk or maybe some dip in the business? Well, I had to pick up a phone. I had to call people. Well, that's hard. I've been doing it for whatever years. I don't feel like doing that anymore. Well, then don't make money. Like, no one feels bad for you. Mm-hmm. Or you have to send some emails or work some extra hours or cover shifts or go to games like you're going to make sure people see you and make yourself relevant, because people forget you fast. Does anybody feel bad for me? Because no one gives a shit. Mm-hmm. But if you want your life to turn out well, you have to do something. So put that into the hockey game. When you're on the bench and you feel like you deserve more, that's fine. When you do that and you make excuses or you have the pity parties, that's the same as sticking your thumb in your mouth, sucking your thumb and saying, poor me. And it can kind of be poor me, but then there's always solutions. What are you going to do? What are you going to do to get yourself out of this? Like, and sometimes just practicing hard isn't the answer, but when you are in a game, what are you going to do? Are you going to have a vanilla shift, or are you going to do something that was extremely noticeable? Because if you do that, you not necessarily will, but it will open the coach's eyes in some sense. Might say, oh, he's ready, or that was a good shift. And if you do 2 of those, and even if it takes 3 games, if you get 2 shifts a game, if you put 2 hardworking shifts together, or blow someone up just because, or disrupt plays like all over the place and your feet don't stop moving, and do things right twice a game, and maybe that'll be 3 times a game the next time, and maybe it'll be a regular shift. But do something. Don't suck your thumb. Sucking your thumb is not the answer.
Yeah, and even if, like you said, you can have the poor me for a bit and the self-pity for a bit, but even normally, if you have the poor me, whatever, I find a lot of times people just haven't really evaluated their fault, like what is actually their fault and the reason they're in the situation they're in. But even if I grant whoever the person is that, you're right, you're getting screwed, poor me, this is the worst thing ever, why is this happening to me, all that stuff, that's not a solution to any issue, that you still have to go and do something. So even take that. Yeah, you're getting screwed. Sure. If that's your attitude, that's fine. But you still have to go and do something about it if you want to get out of the funk. Otherwise, you can just flush yourself down the toilet, man, and it's over. Because it'll be done like that. Because people don't have time. Like you said, people don't care. People don't care. Even if you're 17 years old and you're just like, man, I'm getting screwed. These adults, these coaches, this organization, they don't care about me. They're not paying any attention to me. It's like, even if that's all true, now what? No, okay, so nobody cares. So now what do? You have to go do something. So you might as well go do something productive, try to help yourself. So you have to ask the question, get past the poor me, or even if you still have the poor me, still ask the question. Like, what can I do? What should I do? Why am I in the position that I'm in? Ask those questions and you can help to rally yourself out of that to the best that you can, right? Control the controllables.
Absolutely.
Do what you can control.
Absolutely.
And if at the end of the day it just doesn't work out, then maybe you go somewhere else or you do something else. But do everything you can at least. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's easy on the brain.
It's not,
because you just want your cookies.
Yeah.
But you do have to work your way out of it, and no one will feel sorry for you except for you and your mom and dad.
Yeah, for sure.
And, that's about it. Everybody after that really doesn't give two shits.
Yeah.
And the guy beside you, when they see you, that's in the same situation or is taking your ice, when they see you sucking your thumb, that's perfect for them because they know they got you, right?
Yeah.
So that's why the mental toughness of hockey, the skills and all that stuff is great. Being a good player is great, but it's the mental toughness that that'll get you. You know, the distractions and if you're not mentally tough, then all the distractions will get you, and you can't see long term.
Yeah. So maybe just wrapping up a little bit on the parent side, just to leave something with the parents, because now you went through first year and second year now. Talk about a little bit from the parent side, maybe like a couple of things that stick out, a couple of things to maybe help the parents that are nervous, a couple of things to help them understand the game or how they can help their kids if they're trying to get through their camp or whether they're first year or they're in the uncertainty position or whatever. Just talk about a little bit from the parent side of things.
Yeah, really, it's we talked about this before, that if like a lot of the times a kid will come out of a hockey game, and parents that don't have good answers or don't want to say good answers. So here's the thing. Parents want to make sure that they're going to go one way or the other. They're going to be really hard on their kid. Typically, I'm not saying one way or the other only, but typically they're going to be hard on their kid. Like, for example, kid comes out, didn't have a good game. Dad's standing there with his eyes crossed, arms crossed, legs crossed, ears crossed, everything's crossed. Looks at him and says, well, you didn't shoot pucks, that's why you didn't score, and you're lazy. You went to bed late, da-da-da-da-da. The kid goes, oh, okay. Right? Or the kid comes out and the parents are like, no, you played a great game. It was awesome. You did great. You worked hard. And the kid knows that he didn't have a good game, so that's not helpful either. You're lying to him, right? So the answer is somewhere in between, is giving them tangible information that they can use. The problem with being a parent is you have emotions. So when you have emotions, you sometimes can't give them the truth, or you can't. Or you don't want to give them the truth because the truth hurts a lot of the times, right? Life is hard. Hockey's hard. It is what it is. So as a parent, this is where I think parents need to have some coaching tools or mental toughness tools as well as the player. So when they go to these camps and stuff, and I guess even if you've been to a camp and you haven't done this properly, it's from my perspective, you can change, right? So what a lot of people do, it's a big camp, it's a big game, it's a big this, it's a big that, and all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of pressure on someone. We already know it's big, man. It's kind of, but the reality is, if you take the emotions out, it's just another day. It seems like a bigger day, but it's just another day. What you're going to do is you're going to step on a sheet of ice and do the thing that you've always done. Whether there's 12,000 people watching, cheering, or booing you, everyone loves you, everyone hates you. They're big, they're small, they're fast, they're blue, whatever. It's still the same sheet of ice that you've always played on. So you just go, you do you. And it's really that simple. So as parents, when you go to a OHL or whatever camp, next team, whatever, big tournament, how you can help your kid is it's again, mental toughness 101 is control what you can control. That's it. If you control everything you control, then there's nothing else you can do. There is no pressure, right? We talk about this all the time. There is no pressure. Actually, no pressure. It might not be the result you want. You might not be good enough, or there might be not your time. But the only thing, and the only productive thing you could do is what you can do, right? Anything outside of that, any worries about that, who's going to be there, who's going to be the third line guy, the whatever, how big, that stuff is unproductive, unhealthy, and not going to help you. The only thing you could do as a parent is to always remind your son or your daughter that you can control what you can control. Then there's no pressure, and you stay in that, right? Like then as you get deeper in the mental toughness, it's control what you control, do that as much as you can, and then the game within the game, or the practice within the practice, when you're doing your task, you stay present and you stay focused and do it the best that you can. And then when you do that, there can never be a regret, and there can never be a mistake. Like, as far as you did something wrong, you didn't over prepare, under prepare. You just did what you're supposed to do. And as we said before, like, you don't prepare the night before, you don't prepare the week before. You're always preparing, and you're always focused, because this business goes by really quickly, and it's like a beer can, right? When I'm done a beer, I throw it out. I don't have emotional attachment to my beer can, right? And it's the same thing as a hockey player. There's not, like, sometimes there's a little bit of an emotional attachment, but the bottom line is I just need a new player or beer. It's the same thing when you're in that business. So go in there with that attitude that I'm just going to do whatever I can. And the emotions of wanting to be there and deserving to be there are two different things, right? So we detach ourselves and just say, be mentally tough, stay in the moment, control what you can control, then that's actually the right thing to do. So as a mom and dad, that's the message I would always say, always, because it's easy to say, like, with the kid could take you and say, yeah, but I just want this. And it's like, I know, like Charlie said that, I just wanted more opportunity last year. I just wanted to play more. And I go, I know. What else do you want me to frickin' say? Not giving them shit, but what else do you want to actually go through? All you can do is what you can do. There is nothing else. And sometimes it turns out real well. Sometimes it's a little bit of a battle. But that's what I would say for parents is always that message of control what you can control. And then, so as parents, the best way to do that is not to, when you're in the car with them or when you go out for dinner, is to talk about all the uncontrollables, right? Because then you're just not being a good example for your kid, right? So
yeah, for sure. No, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'm good to leave it there. Do you have any other thoughts or
no? We're good.
Talk about? Good to go.
Yep.
Okay, sweet. Hope that was helpful. See you next week.